Hello,
All right.
everyone. I'm Tom Moore from VikingFans.com, and I'm pleased to have former Minnesota Vikings running back and future Hall of Famer Chuck Foreman here today to talk about the 2017 draft. Chuck, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Tom. It's good to talk to you again.
I got to ask you, I didn't get to go. I was stuck here in Texas. I understand you went to the big draft party the Vikings had on Thursday. What'd you do there? What was it like? What was the environment like?
Well, there's a lot of people there. They had a lot of interactive games for kids. They had several of the players there. I think Stephon Diggs was there, and Griffiths was there. Our defensive end, a great defensive end. I tell you, he's a very special player, really nice guy. They had a lot of people there. This K-Fan was there. It was a very nice atmosphere, and everybody was excited about the draft. And I was very fortunate to be there.
Now, I got to be honest, that's a rowdy group of fans of the Vikings. A little crazy sometimes. You see some strange dressing attire there?
Of course, people always come to the Viking event to dress. And so we saw some of that. And, and the fans are just in that beautiful stadium, of course, and the fans in there, and they really enjoy it. That place is getting plenty of use, and it's a beautiful place to have everything. It's like it feels like you're outdoors because all the sun's coming in. So, even me, I forgot I had my sunglasses on. It was so bright. So it was really, it's really unique, and it's very special. And let's hope these guys get this place baptized the correct way this coming season.
It had to warm your heart to the Vikings take a fellow running back in Florida State's Dalvin Cook.
Right.
And, Chuck, I think you know about him. I think you follow him. But from what you know of him, what will he bring to the Vikings this season?
Well, he's going to bring some toughness, number one. He grew up in a tough part of Miami. He went to Miami Central High School. And I think he was leaning towards Miami at one time. And then, of course, the coaching changed. And then he went to Florida State. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He can, and then the good thing is if you watch him, he can block. He picks up blitzes. He does those kind of things. You see, with me and my thought process when it comes to a running back, we can see all the things that they can do. We know we can watch them run. We can watch them catch. But one of the things we don't take notice of is can they pick up that blitz on third down. Now, I've seen him do that on many, many occasions. And that, to me, is a part of his game that I think is going to elevate him because he'll be an every down back, and he'll be able to stay in there, and they'll be able to incorporate his pass-catching skills into the game plan. I think that sets him apart. And I think that alone will make the Vikings offense a little different.
Obviously, you're an alumni of University of Miami, and with him almost going there, you followed him. You watched him quite a bit knowing he was going to go there. So you've actually seen a lot of tape on this guy. Any weakness that you see?
Well, actually, the good thing about a running back, either you can. And what I watch is like when he makes a decision to turn upfield, he's a north-south runner. So when he comes up, he's 5'11", 215. When he turns it up there, he's turning it up there with authority. So I'm liking everything I see about him, and as I said, I think he's going to be one of the biggest surprises in the draft. And he's going to be a great asset to the Minnesota Vikings, especially they get in there and we shore up our offensive line. We got, our quarterback last year stepped up. Braff, we knew he had talent, but he did a great job under the circumstances. He didn't have a lot of blocking up front there, a lot of pressure and stuff. He still had a great season. So I have, even though we lost a lot of players, we lost Cordell Patterson, but we got a couple of guys from Miami, Isidora. We got Coley there, the wide receiver. I think he can add to some things offensively and to the special teams, and contributing right now. And that's the kind of guys you want on your team when you draft them, guys that can come in and do some good things for you. And I think the Vikings did a good job of drafting this year. Not that they haven't in the past, but this year I think special. I think they've replaced the guys that they lost. And again, I'm looking for the Vikings to have an every down back. And I don't want any labels put on him. I don't want anybody to say, oh, he's a third down. I don't want all that. Put him in, let him play, and let's see what he can do.
One of the things that I've heard people talk about is he reminds them a little bit of you.
Right.
One of the things that fans don't understand who haven't played running back, it's the word vision and the cutability. And they say this guy's got vision. And Eric Kendricks, the linebacker, said it's kind of a when you know you go. It's just an instinct that you have.
Exactly. And and that's what you don't see any hesitation. And to me, that's what they need. I mean, the backs they had, don't puts Adrian or something they're coming back. They might be able to come in and do one or two things, but this is the type of back that they need if they're going to be successful and go to the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl. These are the kind of guys they need. And now they need the guys to come in. They need to come in, not only compete, but come in and perform and do the things they need to do. Like I said, when I've always said to you, I've always liked our coaching staff. I think it's one of the best, even though we lost our receivers coach. I think with the hard work and the things that they can do up here, that we can compete for a championship, for the conference championship, and hopefully for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's about time to go back. And, I'll tell you one thing that Cook shares was the same thing with Joe Mixon as we looked at this as a possible running back choice. And that, off-field issues. With Mixon, it was, a videotape you saw.
Right,
and with Cook, it was more of these small incidents that kind of add up. And there's questions on how many of them are actually there. But given whether they are or aren't, Chuck, these guys are young 20-somethings. How should a guy like Mike Zimmer go about educating Cook on how to avoid the trappings of a young wealthy man in Minneapolis, or is it simply hard to change behavior in young athletes?
Well, I think with the Vikings, of course, we haven't heard of anything up here. I think what they've got, and all the guys that I've met for the Minnesota Vikings, they're all quality people. I mean, every one of them that I've met, they're quality. So he's not going to have any guys here that are kind of, how can I put, for lack of a better word, a knucklehead. Somebody's going to do the wrong thing, and they're going to do the wrong thing. I think he's going to be surrounded by a lot of quality individuals, and that's going to be an influence on him. And I think from where I'm sitting, he's got to know that, hey, this is a great opportunity for you, and you got to do what you got to do. You can't let, sometimes you got to turn that cheek 3 or 4 times, and it might hurt a little bit, but it'll be the best for you. So as long as he's learning every day about those types of things, and being here in Minnesota with all these quality people here in town, and I think it's a good place for him.
I'll tell you what, either that or you could join Big Brothers and Big Sisters, adopt a guy, and you could show him the way, Chuck.
I don't know, man, but like I said, I got 2 boys of my own, and I think they turned out pretty good. But I think with the staff that they have at the Vikings right now, and I think they have people in place, that'll help guide him and show him their way and tell him the do's and don'ts. Because I know they've got a great security staff, and I'm sure they'll be getting in there and sitting down with them and telling them, hey, look, we're not going to have this, we're not going to have that, and this is what you need to do. And if there is something that comes up, call us, don't you react. I think they got a great program in place over there, to help guys that might need a little guidance. And, I think if I'm reading this right, from where he's coming from, I'm sure he's going to want to help his grandmother and people like that are close to him, get out of where they are and get a nice little place to live, and, help them out a little bit and make life a little better for them.
Well, one of the things that I want to do is take you back 44 years, Chuck. It's a tough go.
Right.
You were drafted the first round out of Miami in 1973, and there were no OTAs or mini camps. I got to ask, what happened after you got drafted by the Vikings? Did you go to Bloomington and meet everybody, or how did you even stay in shape back then?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I was always in shape. That's one thing I got to say. But, we had, they came down, they worked you out at the University of Miami. Of course, most of the time back in those days when you got invited to the All-Star games, that's when they saw you showcase your skills, because, all the best players in the country supposedly came together. And every All-Star game I played in, I was the MVP. Believe it or not, I got the cars, I got everything. And so I was able to showcase my skills that way, and was drafted by the Vikings. And so, but we didn't have all this, hype and everything. I mean, it was crazy. It's crazy how it's gone now. It's really exciting. I think it's real special.
When you were drafted, I mean, did you go immediately to Minnesota? Did you move there? Did you work out in Florida?
What I ended up doing is I stayed in Florida. I came up here after the draft. After the draft, they flew me in, and I met Jim Finks. I met Bud Grant. I met the staff, office staff, and people like that. I met Jim Marshall. He was the first player I met when I came up here, and that was a treat in itself, because my agent at the time, a guy by the name of John Wooten, told me everything about Jim Marshall. And he wasn't wrong. This guy he didn't even have to work out if he didn't want to, and he still had that mental capacity to play the game at a high level. Those are the kind of people that I was around. But it wasn't wasn't a big thing where they had the TVs around and all that kind of stuff, but it was enjoyable nonetheless.
Hey, we can talk about this. It's a completely brand new ownership group. It's flipped a couple of times. Jim Finks was notoriously pretty cheap in negotiation. What negotiations looked like for you in 1973?
Well, it was pretty much when they came to me and they negotiated with me, one of their biggest assets, we get to the playoffs every year, so you'll make playoff money and all that. Well, my attorney was saying, well, that might be true, but we want to get the best deal we could get. But, I got a great contract, considering. You know what I got? I got a $50,000 bonus. I got a $50,000 bonus. I got $26,000 my first year. I got $28,000 my second year. I thought I was rich. Of course, then you remember back in those days, though, you could buy a decent house for $35,000. And if you spent $75,000 on a house, you got one with a swimming pool and everything else. And I was able to, the money I had, I made sure my family, believe it or not, a couple $1,000s back then paid off everybody's bills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's now when I look at the money they get today, I'm like, wow, I'm just a little late, but still I was able to do some things, even though both my mother and father worked for the government and, provided well. But, it was just nice to be able to assist them in some of the things they wanted to do. When I got to Minnesota, it was I never really, people said Minnesota, and I said Minnesota. And I got here and I met the nicest people. They were just nice people. You know what I mean? I was like, what in the world? I called my mother and father when I got up here. I said, Mom, Dad, these people are nice, because, you got from the East Coast, people are a little standoffish and stuff like that. Not that they aren't nice, but they don't open up as easy.
When you came to training camp in 1973 at Mankato, there were 3 veteran runners on the Viking roster then: Dave Osborne, Bill Brown, and Oscar Reed, and a second-year guy, Ed Marinero. Now, your skills on the field were dramatically different than any of those guys. But were you nervous coming to camp, and what made you think you could quickly earn a starting spot in Minnesota?
Well, and I don't want to come off wrong. I did one of the things that all those guys are veterans, except for Eddie had come in the year before. Oscar Reed had been there, 7 or 8 years, I think, prior to me coming, and Bill Brown had been there 12 or 13, and Osborne 11. But, when I got here, they told me that there were some spots open, and if I came in and played hard, that I would earn one. Bud Grant had this thing about rookies. He wouldn't start rookies. But I made sure that he had no choice but to start me. So my skill set was a whole lot different than those guys. They were used to, for lack of a better word, like that 2 yards in a cloud of dust kind of thing. And I brought a little bit more flash and flair,
There you go.
and still went north and south. And then I could catch the ball. And then I could, So I brought a skill set to the team that they actually, the league probably had some guys that could do it, but they didn't use them that way. But the Vikings used me in those, to catch the ball, to run the ball. Unfortunately, I could block, pick up the blitzes and things like that, which allowed me to stay in on third downs and do some other things.
And that's a good thing. As we round out our original
Right,
conversation about Dalvin Cook, it sounds like he has got some of those skill sets to go, the multifaceted running back, and most importantly, a little flash, and that wouldn't be so bad for this Viking offense.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Let me tell you, because you can, if you can get rid of a guy one-on-one, that first wave, you get in that second, you got a chance to do some great things. And I think he has that ability.
I do too. And Chuck, I want to thank you for joining us to talk a little bit about this year's draft and the Viking running backs tonight.
Well, I appreciate it, and I think we got a great one. Now we have one that just left, in Adrian, and now let's see if he can. This guy, if he can pick up the torch and take the Vikings to another level. I mean, that's how I compare success when the guy comes in. Where was the team when he got here? Where is it when he gets here, and then where's it going to be doing while he's here? So let's hope he can elevate that team and that offense and get us going in the right direction.
There you go. And before we go, I want to encourage all the fans listening to go to the website that shows why Chuck Foreman belongs in the Hall of Fame, and it's at chuckforemanhof.com, and see the Hall of Fame justification document for Chuck. And Chuck, get this. There are over 20 minutes of just highlights from your career. I don't think I had 20 minutes of game footage for my entire if I looked at every play of my college career. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, I checked it out. They've done a really, really phenomenal job with that site. And then, I found out a lot about myself I didn't know. Great job of research and all that kind of stuff. And, and that makes me feel good, because I really didn't know that a lot of my stats are as good or better than some guys that are already in there.
Well, see, we're the unofficial biographers, and you have a situation now. All you got to think about is who's going to play Chuck Foreman in the movie. That's it. That's all that's left.
Yeah, that's all that's left.
All right. Well, for that, I appreciate the time, and until next time, for Chuck Foreman, I'm Tom Moore. So long, everyone.